Wow. Welcome to Nilai Springs Golf and Country Club. This is my first time being here and this course has 27 holes. Today we're out playing the Island and the Pines, and there's also a third 9 known as the Mango 9. And I'll definitely try to make my way back out here and film a course vlog on the third 9 when the lockdown is over. But for now, let's get started. This is the Island 9. The first hole is a par 5 and we are teeing off with an iron. So there's actually a water hazard that runs through the center of the fairway. So for the tee shot, you can't hit it any more than I would say 185 yards. And as you can see from where I was, about 5 yards further, the fairway actually slopes downhill. And anything downhill there definitely runs the risk of your ball running into the water hazard. So I would say just definitely choose a shorter club here. It is a par 5 anyway. And it's not a par 5 where you can go for the green unless you tee off with a driver and cross the water hazard. But it is pretty narrow as you can see. Because of that, for my second shot, I am hitting a hybrid here. I didn't really know how much space I had out there, so I was definitely going for the safer option. This is also the first hole, so there is no point of running the risk of going into the trees or anything like that, especially on a par 5. After that, I was left with 150 yards, so pretty perfect. I'm not complaining about that layup at all. I think that is a pretty good pace to be. From here, obviously, I could not really see what the green was doing, and because I've never been here, I didn't know what to expect. But I was a bit on an uphill lie, so I was expecting this to draw a little bit. Therefore, I was aiming a little bit right off the pin. After that shot though, seeing the ball land, I realized that the green was definitely sloping very far right to left, and because of that my ball kicked pretty hard and off the green, which I was not expecting. As you can see from here, there's a bit of an uphill slope where I'm chipping, and that's actually what my ball kicked off. So you do need to be a bit cautious about the first green because everything definitely slopes towards the left side. But at the same time, this pin and the position that it was in today was a little bit on a turtleback kind of green, so it was definitely going to be difficult to hit it close to this pin position today. Next hole is a par 4. It's a little bit of a dogleg left, not much at all, but I would definitely say aim a little bit more right than you might think because there is a little bit of rough that comes out towards the left side if you hit it towards the left side of this fairway. So just be a little bit careful here. Don't want to give yourself a shot from the rough when you can have a shot from the fairway. So if anything, just aim a little bit more right and give yourself the best opportunity to go for the green from the fairway.
Did it run? Did it run?
I can run. After the tee shot, I had about 145 yards left to the green. This green has a little bit of an elevated front, so because the pin was in front today, I definitely wanted to make sure that I had enough club to get it all the way to the front of the green because anything short was definitely not going to bounce up. Also because as you can see, it's wet, so I didn't want to leave myself short of the green. Anything on the green is still a birdie putt versus a birdie chip, so I hit a half 7 iron there and I ended up hitting a pretty decent shot and gave myself a chance for birdie. So for those of you guys who don't know Malaysia, so we're actually in Nilai today, which is in Negeri Sembilan. So technically I traveled out of state to get to here, but it was only a 45-minute drive, and that's probably why if you're wondering the views are so different, because we're not in the city, technically we're in another state. But it was very beautiful day to be out here. Unfortunately, I missed birdie there, but a tap in par. New Year, same gen. So let's move on to hole 3, which is another par 4. So for this par 4, it's basically a dogleg left, but I couldn't really see how much space there was left. It definitely looked like there was not much space, so I wanted to go more towards the right side of this fairway. I thought we had to go more right because it's a dogleg left and we didn't want to cut it too much at the corner, but I went too far right and now I'm on the cart path. So definitely need to aim more towards the left side here. The pin is right behind here, so I need to hit it low of this tree. So as I said, first priority was to get under the tree, and that's why I had to hit a 6-iron. Hitting a 6-iron from that distance, I knew that there was a big chance that my ball was going to bounce over and not hold the green. But as you can see, I'm just over the green. I do not have the most easy chip, but I know that my chipping is good enough to get me up and down. So first priority, as I said, is to make sure that you don't get yourself into more trouble when you're on an undesirable lie. The next hole is a par 3, and something that I immediately noticed, I'm not sure if it's because of the way that the sun was shining or the shadows as you can see, but basically it makes it seem like this green is quite small when actually it was a very wide green. With the pin position today being on the left side, anything that misses left has a chance of going onto the bunker on the left side. So this was kind of a tricky hole in terms of the way that it was set up, because if you were not paying attention to the way that the tee box was set up and the way that the green looks, there is a big chance that you're going to miss this left when there is actually a ton of space on the right. So don't get tricked by this kind of things. Make sure that you pay attention, especially because this was my first time playing on this golf course. Obviously, I did not know how big the green actually was, so pay attention to things like this, especially on new courses, because sometimes it tricks your eye. But if you are able to notice and pay attention to these kind of things, then you're able to avoid silly mistakes such as missing it on a spot that short sights you when you have so much space on the other side.
Yes!
Hole 5 is a pretty straightforward par 4, just a little bit on the longer side. It is playing 416 yards. So it does play a little bit of a trick on your eyes, because from the tee box it looks like it's a dogleg right, but actually it's a pretty straight hole. The trees do come out a little bit and it does look like the fairway goes a little bit right to left, but basically it's almost playing as a straight hole. So again, just don't get tricked by your eyes, especially on new courses where you're not used to it. After the tee shot had about 152 yards left to the green. The green is a little bit elevated here, so I took a little bit more club just to make sure that I got it up there. Could not really see what the green was doing. I think it is quite difficult to see the greens today. I don't know if it usually is or it's just because the sun was really bright, but it was quite hard to see the way that they were undulating, especially because obviously I've never played this course, so I don't know which side was the better side to hit it on. But I would say that the greens here were quite tricky because they had quite a bit of turtleback kind of greens, and based on the pin position today, it could break either way. So it was really between, the difference could really be a yard or two between it kicking left and kicking right. Hole 6 is a par 4 and this one is a definite dogleg left. So the reason why it gets a little bit tricky is that tree on the left side. You basically need to aim it about 1 yard right of that to be perfect to be able to cut it. And you have two options here. Obviously you can go towards the right side and just play it safe. But if you do want to cut it, you need to make sure you hit it just right off that left tree. So it does kind of bring the tree into play if you are not sure that you're going to be able to hit a straight shot, or to make sure that you're not going to hit something left that it might hit the tree. I would definitely recommend going towards the right side because it's not that long of a hole anyway. So there's no point cutting it if you're not confident that you will not hit something that's going to go left. If you are confident enough, I think cutting it, there is nothing much up there. As long as you hit it right off that tree and you're able to carry those short trees up there, you're going to be fine and going to be perfect in the center of the fairway with a much shorter club. So it really depends on what you feel comfortable with off the tee. As you could see too, I teed off very far towards the right side, so that's about as far right as you can get. If the tee box is pushed more left, you definitely want to go with the shorter club and just aim towards the right side and not even think about bringing those trees into play. I don't really like trying to hit draws on holes like this. I would much rather hit a straight shot and let a draw naturally take its place rather than trying to draw it, because that's when you have the tendency to maybe hit a little bit too much of a draw or just start it a little bit left, and that is when you're going to hit the tree and end up in an unnecessarily bad position.
This one breaks a bit weird. It went both ways, kind of. Because mine went both ways.
Hole 7 is a tough par 3 because of the way that the green slopes. So it might just have been that today the pin positions were difficult, but it seemed like most of the pin positions today were on top of a slope, and directionally they were very hard to gauge because a little bit left and a little bit right means going either way. So because of the turtleback kind of greens that they had here, if you hit it 2 yards left or 2 yards right, it either goes left or right. So the next clip will make it a little bit more sense. But I basically tried to hit that 2 straight and tried to control it and didn't swing it freely, so didn't hit a good shot there. But as you can see here, it's the difference between 1 and 2 yards makes a huge difference with the greens here. So definitely not easy to read the greens and not easy to judge what they're going to do. Like this chip over here, I could not hit it past the pin because anything past the pin was going to slope down and away. So you could be left with a 12-footer, or even it could even roll off the green. So as you can see here, it's going left to right. My ball's breaking towards the right at the end. But then when you see my putt after this, it's going to break right to left. So the greens are breaking both ways essentially, so you do need to pay extra attention to these greens on this course because I think they really do go both ways just because of the turtlebacks and the way that the greens are sloping. Hole 8 is a par 5 and it's a dogleg left hole. On this course, you do need to be a bit cautious, especially on holes which are doglegs, because obviously on doglegs you just have a tendency to want to cut it because you know that when you cut it you're going to have shorter shots into the hole. But most of the doglegs here, they do kind of pull the risk of you running out of the fairway because of the distance. But at the same time, if you were to cut it, you get really close to those trees. So if you are going to cut it, just make sure that you're able to start it on line. If not, I would really recommend just hitting a shorter club and going out towards the larger side of the fairway, especially on holes like this, which are par 5s, because they don't really matter. Essentially, the tee shot is just a layup for your second shot anyway.
Golf adventures.
This is my ball. As you can see, the pin is actually back there. But apparently it's an island green and I really cannot see what's in front and behind. So just laying up here. It's a par 5 anyway. So the weird thing about this par 5 is it's actually pretty short. From the second shot, you really cannot see the green at all. Although it is downhill, which makes it more tempting to go for the green. And when you lay up, you're laying up with something like a 9-iron, which seems pretty ridiculous to lay up with a 9-iron. But at the end of the day, after I went up there and was able to see the green, this is definitely not a hole that you want to go for because there is not much reward to it. As you can see, everything slopes towards the water. So you would have to be hitting an iron into this green to even have a chance to go for it. If not, there's really no point. See, I'm hitting a 9-iron and a 52-degree wedge. But at the end of the day, it's two easier shots versus having to hit one tough shot, possibly hitting it very good and still going in the water and making a big number on a par 5. So this par 5, I would definitely say just lay up. Even though it is short and it is tempting to go for it, there is basically no reward to going for this green. So after hitting my approach shot way too good, I left myself in a position that you definitely do not want to be on this green. If anything, I would say obviously not short that you're going to go in the water, but you do want to leave yourself short, especially when the pin is in front. You want to leave yourself short of the pin and not over, because this putt was just solely based on speed and then it's just pure luck after that.
Oh no, hit the pin, hit the pin, hit the pin, hit the pin.
God.
You didn't hit that pin. Nice.
Hole 9 is a par 4, pretty long because it's playing straight uphill and there is nothing much to it. You do want to hit more towards the right side because there are bunkers down the left side which are definitely reachable. So the aim here was towards the right side of that building. If you could see those two pole-like things out there, that was kind of where I was going for. I didn't actually know how far the bunker was because you can't see it from this tee box, so you do need to be aware of that and the fact that there are bunkers there. But I hit a good shot there and still left myself with about 185 yards. So again, as I said, because it's playing uphill, I hit more club here, so I hit my 185 yard carry. But I decided to hit a bit of a fade shot here, and the reason why was because this green looked like it was a turtleback green again, and I did not think that I could go over. So I thought that with a fade it would be able to land softer, and I actually hit a really good shot there, as you could see by the club twirl. But it ended up being a little bit too short because it didn't climb up the hill, so it came back down and left myself with a really difficult putt.
Oh my god, sit.
Hold on. Hold on. Wait, straight.
It went that way.
Left to right.
So that was the Island 9, and now let's move on to Pines. So Pines, based on the sign that was on the tee box, the greens were running a little bit slower on this 9. So let's see what this 9 has in store for us. The first hole is a par 4, hole 10. It is a little bit of a downhill par 4, and there is a hazard running through the fairway as well. So from what I heard was that the hazard was not in place, so I just hit a driver here assuming that I wouldn't reach the hazard. But as you can see here, I'm a little bit too close for comfort, so you do want to be careful here because anything past where I was downhill. So either you were going to go in the hazard or you're going to go into some really nasty stuff. So either way, I wouldn't play with that. If the grounds were rolling and they were dry, I would recommend hitting something shorter. It's not a long hole anyway, so after that I had 124 yards. I was hitting a half punchy 9-iron here because the green does go downhill, but then towards the green it's a bit uphill, so I hit a little bit more just to accommodate for that.
Yeah, I got that. What is going on there?
Hole 11 is a par 5, and again, as I said just now, it is a dogleg left, but I think you can see here as well, there is a tree coming down on the left side. So to just avoid that, go more towards the right side. Don't play with those trees because those trees here, these are those old trees that if you hit them, they are just going to come straight down, and you don't want it from being a short par 5 to having a 500 yard second shot. So definitely make sure that wherever you are teeing off, you're going to stay clear of those trees. there is a ton of space on the right side. As I said, there might be a bit of a tendency to run out the fairways on certain holes, so if you're not sure, just take shorter club. But on this hole, I think you're fine to just hit driver and go more towards the right side. For the second shot, there's pretty much nothing up there, it's just fairways, so you can hit whatever you want. So I ended up going with my 3-wood. I actually thought there was a hazard, but there isn't, so it does look a little bit deceiving. It looks like it goes a little bit downhill and then uphill, and I heeled that shot a little bit, but it still ended up being on the fairway, so I'm completely fine. It's a par 5, it's a 3-shot hole, so for me it was just a layup anyway. After that, I had 120 yards to go. I ended up hitting a punch 9-iron because there was a little bit of a breeze in front, and again, the green on this 9 was actually catching more than the previous 9, and the fairways weren't rolling out as much, so I assumed that I could be a little bit more aggressive on this 9 as well with my approach shots, and that's why I ended up taking more club and just hitting a punch shot. Hi, I'm back. So we've reached hole 13, which is a par 4. I've decided to show you guys a driver view from the front, so this obviously means there is not much to this hole. So I also really like the pink flowers behind, so I hope you guys enjoy this view. And I know that if you guys were wondering and you didn't read my caption, the reason why there are no shot traces today is because I actually got a new phone and I think the resolution is too high that shot tracer couldn't detect it. I don't know, but I will try to fix it, and I swear I will try to get shot tracer on the next one, or I guess when lockdown is over. But anyway, back to hole 13. As I said, with the tee shot, there was nothing much, but of course I went into the one patch of grass that was like cow grass, and I'm right in the center of it, which is like a different kind of grass, so I did not really know what was going on here. Very interesting lie. I ended up hitting it a little bit too far right. I was trying not to take a divot and I succeeded in that, but I just didn't really commit to it, so it went a little bit right. As you can see from here, did not leave me in the best spot. So for this hole, whatever you do, do not go over and do not go to the right side if the pin is in the center. As you can see, huge break, and my ball almost died at the top of the slope and it still ran quite a bit past. I think that was probably the best that I could do with that chip, but I still was left with about a 6-footer. So definitely over is not the play here, unless of course the pin is behind. If the pin is anywhere below that slope, you do want to leave it short. A good putt there to save my par on this hole, and let's move on to hole 14. So hole 14 is a par 5, as you can see. Again, it is a dogleg left, but those trees on the left side, like I've said over and over again, do come into play. So even though they are quite small trees, it's not the easiest thing to hit your shot and know that there are trees just left of where you're trying to aim. So make sure that whatever it is, you commit to it. And as I said, if you're not confident with it, just hit something shorter and go towards the right side. There's so much space down the right side. So this hole also kicks right. So if you were to hit right with a driver, just know that you are likely going to run out of fairway. Even with my draw, I am just out of the fairway, but I am still fine. And it was a little bit of an obstructed view because the pin was behind those trees on the left side. But again, I'm going for the green in 2 on a par 5, so I did not need to hit it exactly at the pin. I was basically going towards the right side. Again, as I said before, on holes like this, I don't like to try and force a draw, because that is when you're gonna have weird shots come out. And essentially what I was trying to do is get it as close to the green as possible. I did land it on the green, but obviously with a 3-wood it just bounced over. But I am still there in 2, so really no big deal at all. Just get it as close as possible to the green. You don't have to try to pull some fancy shot to try to get it as close to the pin when the pin is obstructed.
Right. Nice. What direction is it? In. Nice birdie.
Hole 15, par 4, again a little bit of a dogleg left. I think you see the trend on this golf course. There are a lot of dogleg lefts, and as a draw player too, they are not doglegs that you really want to try and cut. As you can see here, that big dark left tree on the left side, that one definitely comes into play because it's right around landing distance, so you do not want to get too close to that. So I aimed more out towards the right side here because I thought that I wouldn't run out of fairway. But I think this is one of the holes that I should have just went with something shorter, because I did run out of fairway. As you can see, it's not a bad lie at all, but a little bit further and I would have been obstructed by the trees on the right side, so you do want to be a bit careful here. I ended up getting a bit lucky and did not bounce into that rough, so I still had 120 yards, a little bit of an elevated green, so I'm hitting a little bit more, hitting a punch 9-iron there and getting it up. Again, looks like a turtleback green, so I did not really know what to expect. My main focus on that shot was definitely just to make sure that I had enough carry to go on top of the green and that it's not short, because anything short looked like it was going to roll back down.
Yes!
Almost didn't go in.
2 straight birdies.
4th birdie in a row.
No, it's not.
4th birdie of the 9.
Hole 16, definitely in my opinion the toughest par 4 on and maybe entire golf course, because I just felt like this was such an uncomfortable hole for me, especially as a draw player that's not really drawing her ball that much anymore. So the aim on this hole for me was actually that left side of that left building. So as you can tell, very far left, and it's all trees. So even though they are short trees, right, it just seems like, personally for me, because my miss is a draw, I just felt so uncomfortable over this shot. It was just such a bad choice. I should have just laid up with a 3-wood or even a 5-wood and aimed towards that right side, even though it would have played a lot longer. Because of how much I missed that, I ended up having probably the same distance that I would have with a 3 or 5-wood if I just hit that off the tee. So a mistake there and choice of judgment. I just was not comfortable over the tee and definitely should not have hit something when I was not comfortable. So I ended up leaving myself with 209 yards, really long ways to go. Hit a good 5-foot there, but it was just too long and it did not roll up. So as you could see, my ball backspin. Ended up being short, but I was just short of the green, so no big deal from there. Definitely could have been a lot worse.
Hit. Ooh. Almost again. Nice.
Hole 17, another par 3, and guess what? Another turtleback. What I must say is that this course, I definitely do want to come back and play it again, because even though I'm not scoring badly, obviously, I just feel like there are so many shots where you really have to trust your shot. And if you don't trust it, you just hit unnecessarily bad shots because of the way that the greens look and the way that the course looks. It just looks quite scary sometimes, and it makes it very easy to not trust your swing. when in fact it's actually really good practice to play courses like this, because then you really have to just trust your swing, trust yourself, forget about whatever the outcome might be, and just play golf.
No, it's gone.
Where is it? How do you Jen? Jen?
Hey.
So although this green does not look as severe as the previous ones, it was another one where you could not really hit past this pin, especially because this pin was tucked right. You did not have much space there, and anything past this was definitely going off the green. So the plan here was definitely just hit it a little bit short, if anything. Obviously we're always trying to make it, but if we miss it, it's definitely needing to be a little bit short of the hole. Hole 18, guess what? Another dogleg left. This hole is actually much more deceiving because it looks very short and it looks like you don't have much space, so you have to cut it left. But actually there is a ton of room down the right side and there are bunkers down the left side, so you actually have to go right. So the target here should be those big trees down the end, which to me from the tee box looked like it was definitely within reach, but actually it was so far. So don't get deceived by that. Don't try to cut this corner, because first of all, there's no point cutting this corner, and second of all, there are bunkers down the left side, so if you do cut the corner, there is a chance that you're going to go in the bunker instead.
Yeah, it did.
From the second shot, again, could not really see what the green was doing. There was a bunker in front of the green where the pin position was today, which was in front. So I had 177, but I was hitting something that would carry about close to 175 because the pin was in front and the bunker was in front. As I said, you want to make sure you have enough to carry. But what I didn't realize was there is actually space between the bunker and the front of the green, which is where I ended up. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this vlog at Nilai Springs. As I said, I'm definitely looking forward to coming back here and playing this course, and maybe the mango course if it is open. It was fun to make some birdies out here, and I'll see you guys the next time. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay healthy, guys.